at 8:45 a.m. So let's go ahead and put a track on this to see who could be impacted next. So it's coming off towards the north and the east at 50 miles per hour. We've got Winfield 8:05. So Winfield, you got about 5 minutes before the storm is on top of you. Ringwood at 8:15, Flat Creek 8:25 a.m. and then Cotton Plant at 8:39 a.m. Clark's 8:45 and then Columbia at 8:52 a.m. Okay. So we're going to go back up towards the north now, and I did want to put a tracker on this storm, this very strong storm. We're beginning to see a lot of lightning and heavy rain with this storm that is moving into portions of Monroe at this time. We are seeing some signs of rotation ever so slightly right there. The color pattern has changed a little bit where these blues and greens are coming together near Louisiana Highway 557. That's where we're tracking out some signs of a rotation in southern portions of Ouachita, moving closer to the Richwood area at this time and closer to the city of Monroe. So if you are located in any of those areas, I want you in your safe place. And now, Marcus, what are you seeing?
Well, again, I want to talk about that warning that is covering southern and central portions of Ouachita Parish, because we know a good amount of people live in these areas, especially when we think about West Monroe, Richwood, Bockenville, all the areas in central Ouachita Parish. We want you to be in your safe area now because we have this dangerous storm that's moving into the area. Now, fortunately, the rotation with that storm has weakened just a bit, but that may also be a sign of where our radar beam is hitting the storm. We are hitting higher in the storm, so we may not be seeing as much in the lower levels of the atmosphere. So we want you to take this warning very seriously. It stays active at least through 8:15 a.m. And then farther downstream, we're dealing with a severe thunderstorm warning. But if this storm starts to spin up once again, if rotation starts to get tighter, that could be a sign that we're dealing with a strengthening storm, a dangerous storm, continuing to move across the area. Farther to the south again, we have this tornado warning that's moving across, or we have a warning that covers northeastern portions of Wynn Parish, stretching into northwestern portions of Caldwell Parish. And then farther south, we're dealing with a tornado warning that covers the city of Winfield. Again, right now, Winfield, you are in the thick of things when it comes to this dangerous storm. Now, I do want to take us to our tower cam, if our control room can pull up that tower cam, just so we can show you what's going on. We're dealing with the wet weather impacting Monroe at this hour. Very stormy weather on the way. It's very dreary, cloudy, windy, stormy. If you're just waking up, again, we're dealing with this severe weather threat, and it is impacting our region right now. It's bringing a lot of impacts to us. So we want you to, again, keep your guard up over the next several hours. Because dangerous weather is moving through. The good news is by the time we get to about 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, the threat for severe weather should be over for the Arklamas. But in the meantime, we're still dealing with that threat, so we want you to keep your guard up. So as we talk about that secondary alert, again, that main alert that covers portions of Ouachita Parish, again, Monroe, we're talking about you potentially being impacted by this dangerous storm within the next 10 minutes, the worst part of the storm. And then farther to the south and west, we're dealing with yet another tornado warning that if that storm holds together, it'll also track into southern and central portions of Ouachita Parish. And then for Winfield, again, we're dealing with this dangerous storm, this tornado-warned storm moving right over the Winfield area right now, bringing a lot of impacts. When we look at the alerts that are out there, again, this is what we're tracking, this area of circulation where we have the change of colors very close together. Again, it's moving closer and closer to places like Richwood. We're still at least 5 to 10 minutes away from that. But again, we want you to take this time now to prepare for this dangerous weather. Then as we look farther to the south, we're looking at a storm system. Again, that rotation is right over just west of Winfield as well. So this is what we're dealing with. We want you to be on guard for that. I believe meteorologist Abby Azell has a little bit more.
Yeah, they're about to do a downstream tornado warning coming for Winfield.
Okay, understood. So the storm that is over Winfield still showing strong signs of rotation. We have not confirmed the tornado, but the National Weather Service will issue another warning downstream. So if you are in places like Sykes, you're dealing with the additional threat of tornadic weather. And these storms, they've been tracking from southwest to north and east. At the same time, most of the activity has been in a line, so these storms have been doing what we call training or traveling over the same areas, and so that's leading to potentially some flooding concerns as well. but we have to keep an eye on some of these individual storms that are developing ahead of this main line. We could see additional warnings issued. And again, the threat for severe weather will continue to track across the region. So just because you're not in a warning now, and let's say you're in Delhi, doesn't mean you won't get a warning as we head throughout the morning. So the threat for severe weather definitely there. We want you to keep your guard up, but I definitely am concerned, not that we're seeing any actual tornado, but we have this warning, tornado warning, covering southern and central portions of Ouachita Parish. Again, people are definitely under the threat when it comes to this severe weather. Now, when we look at the watch that's out there, we have a tornado watch that stays active at least through 1 p.m. This watch will be with us, so the threat for tornadoes definitely there for the rest of the morning. And here's a quick look at the SPC outlook showing the risk for severe weather for today. I'll send it back to meteorologist Abby Ezell with a little bit more.
Okay, well, Marcus, we just got that fourth tornado warning that is covering portions of Jackson and Wynn parishes as this storm continues to track near Winfield at this time. We're talking about places like Dodson and Sykes being included in this warning at this time. So if you are located in any of those areas, be on alert that this strong storm is headed towards you. Now, control room, could we possibly get Max 2 put up in the monitor behind me so we could get a better look at what this storm is exactly doing? We are seeing some signs of rotation continuing to track just towards the north of Winfield at this time, moving closer towards Sykes as it moves off towards the north and the east. If you are located near Louisiana Highway 34 or Louisiana Highway 127, this is moving closer towards your area at this time. We are once again tracking this area of red and green rotation moving closer towards Sykes at this time. So be on guard that a strong storm is likely moving towards your area. Let's go ahead and put a track on this storm. We've got this, that's a severe thunderstorm warning until 8:45 for much of the area. But let's go ahead and track out this tornado warning. We've got a lot of lightning here in the city of Monroe. You may be able to hear it just off in the distance. This tornado warning does go until about 8:15, the original warning. So let's go and see what we can get on in this new warning, if we can track that out here. Let's zoom in just a little bit so we can get a better look at that. Okay, we've got a tornado warning until 8:30 a.m. Jackson and Wynn parishes moving towards the northeast at 45 miles per hour. So it has slowed down a little bit. It was moving at 50 miles per hour. So let's go ahead and put a tracker on it. 45 miles per hour. We're going to be talking about places like Vixen at 8:33 a.m., Blankston at 8:43 a.m., Bosco 8:49, Cobb at 8:53, and then Twin City Mud Track at 8:53 a.m., Ridgewood 8:58 a.m., and then 9:02 for Charleville and Millhaven at 9:07. Now, as we turn closer towards the north, we are still seeing some slight signs of rotation with this storm moving closer towards Richwood at this time, but it's really beginning to weaken ever so slightly as it continues to track off towards the north and the east. Still a very strong storm that we've got moving towards portions of Highway 165 closer to Richwood, and then we are continuing to track this storm just off towards the south of Richwood that is continuing to show signs of broad rotation moving into portions of Caldwell and southern Ouachita at this time, close to Highway, let's see what that number is, 846. Louisiana Highway 846. So if you're located in that area, we are seeing some broad signs of rotation for you. And then as we take a wider view of what's going on across the arc limits, we do have this expansive severe thunderstorm warning that's pretty much covering a majority of our area, most of our western parishes and counties at this time. And then we also do have a flash flood alert covering some of our northeastern parishes and counties, as this storm system is bringing a lot of heavy rain to our area. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Marcus. Marcus, what are you seeing?
Well, I want to focus in on some of the strong rotation that we're still seeing signs of in Caldwell Parish right now. I'm going to step off the screen to adjust that particular box right there, but it shows a gate-to-gate shear of about 72 miles per hour. So the storm itself still showing signs of rotation. And at this point, again, the radar beam is fairly far or the storm is fairly far from the lower levels of the atmosphere in terms of where the radar beam would hit. And so we may not be picking up on some of the strongest rotation at the surface. But again, we're showing signs of rotation. We have the greens, we have the reds coming together. So this is a sign that we could be dealing with a tornado or storm, definitely with the potential to produce a tornado. And again, this energy is tracking to the north and east. So we are expecting it to move into southern portions of Ouachita Parish. If you have any family or friends that would normally be traveling south along Interstate 165, or excuse me, State Route or Highway 165, this time of day, I would encourage you to tell them to avoid travel at this time because dangerous storms are moving through, and we're tracking that dangerous activity pushing into southern Ouachita Parish. Again, we saw one storm system move out of northeastern Wynn Parish into western portions of Caldwell Parish and now into Ouachita Parish. This is that second storm showing signs of rotation. I also want to bring your attention to the storm that is currently moving now just north of Winfield. It's still showing strong signs of rotation. At last check, we had gate-to-gate shear. Again, gate-to-gate shear is where we have these little pixel boxes. One box has a certain speed and the color represents the direction. Another box has a certain speed and the color represents the direction. And if you have different colors very close together in high speeds, that's a sign of rotation in the atmosphere. So we're still seeing that now north of Winfield. We still have dangerous wind around Winfield, but if you are in Winfield, you can start to relax just a touch. Again, the worst weather is now moving between you and towards Sykes. So Sykes, you want to keep your guard up. You want to make sure you stay in your safe area because we have this dangerous weather that is approaching you once again, and we'll still be dealing with dangerous weather really for the next couple of hours. So the threat for severe weather definitely with us this morning. And as we put the map into motion, these storms are continuing to track from the southwest to the northeast. We are noticing signs that maybe things might quiet down just a bit, or at least briefly, farther to the south and west of Winfield and Wynn Parish, but we're still dealing with some thunderstorm activity, so we want you to be ready for that. But I do want to focus in on central Ouachita Parish now. The most dangerous storm, that initial storm that was showing signs of rotation, that rotation is a lot broader now, so that's a good thing, but we still have that tornado warning in place. So this is your time to, again, stay indoors, get away from windows. Don't try to go outside and look and see what's happening. We have this dangerous weather that is really moving through your area. And then downstream, we're talking about impacts eventually for places like Bastrop, not so much with a tornado warning just yet, but they're dealing with these stronger storms continuing to track to the north and east. And so we'll watch to see how that progresses. But this dangerous weather is continuing to impact us at this hour. Again, we've been telling you about the threat for severe weather over the last several days. Fortunately, yesterday was a lot quieter, but now we have a lot more moisture in the atmosphere. We have a cold front that's nearby as well. We still have strong winds in the atmosphere. We have a dynamic atmosphere in general. So all of that is playing a part in bringing us the threat for severe weather. So again, this tornado watch will be with us at least through 1 p.m. This is a look at the general severe weather threat across the region. We're dealing with even a moderate risk across some of our eastern parishes. But as we take a look at the futurecast, we'll still see stormy weather out there as we head toward 11 a.m. And then eventually by 1 p.m., 2 p.m., we should see improvements in our weather. And as we head throughout the afternoon, we'll notice breezy but drier conditions, and that should be a time where you can get out and explore the region and enjoy your weekend. But the threat for severe weather definitely there. I want to send it back to meteorologist Abby Azale with another update on what's happening with the alerts out there.
Okay, well, Marcus, I am beginning to see what you are seeing, where those signs of rotations are beginning to broaden out closer to Ouachita Parish. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what that's looking like. Right now, we have some broad signs of rotation just near the Richwood area, if not a little bit south of Richwood, excuse me, closer to Bochamville. We're continuing to track that. They did just update the warning. They have expanded it to include portions of Schwartz at this time, and they have shrunk it. So this is on the very edge of the city of Monroe at this time, moving closer to Highway 165. So if you are located near the Highway 165 area, you'll want to stay on guard. We did just get, alerts on our cell phone at this time that we are under a tornado warning here for the city of Monroe. So if you are located on the very edge of the city of Monroe, you want to be on guard as the strong storm continues to impact your area. Now, they did just let that tornado warning for portions of Caldwell and Wynn Parish expire, but we still do have this active warning near Sykes and Wynn Parish continue, and for portions of Jackson Parish at this time. So this is showing some signs of a stronger rotation in this storm just south of the Sykes area, where we are seeing those blues come together. That's where we're watching for signs of a rotation. Moving closer to the Louisiana Highway 34 area. So if you are located near Sykes, you'll want to be on guard as this strong storm continues to impact your region as we are tracking out that rotation. And even Dodson, I would say you want to be in your safe place right now as the strong storm continues to impact portions of Wynn Parish. Marcus, what are you seeing?
Well, I want to talk about the warning that now covers eastern portions of Ouachita Parish. If you would like us, you just heard the alert on your phone. Abby, you have something else?
They just said tornado warning coming for LaSalle and Caldwell.
Okay, so now we're starting to see more activity across our area. Another warning for Caldwell Parish and now LaSalle Parish, which hasn't had a tornado warning this morning, now dealing with the threat for a warning. But if you are anywhere across West Monroe, farther to the east, we're dealing with this tornado warning that covers the eastern portion of Ouachita Parish. This is your time again to stay indoors, to get away from windows, to put as many walls between you and the outside world. The way it works is that if you're outside, you're exposed to the strong wind. You're potentially exposed to flying debris that the wind picks up. And so you want to put as many walls between you and the outside world so you can be protected just in case an object blows in your direction, or if we do have an actual tornado on the ground, it picks up debris and throws it in your direction or even starts to impact you directly. So again, the threat for dangerous weather out there, this warning will be with us for another, I would say 30, 45 minutes, depending on how quickly the storms are moving. And again, we're talking about this threat still being with us as well. On a wider view, we're looking at the additional alerts, that additional warning that's in place for Caldwell Parish. It covers places like Clarks at this hour, also Columbia under that threat as well, and it extends just to the Richland and Franklin Parish border. So that's what we're looking at right here. And then farther to the south and west, we have that additional warning that covers northern portions of Wynn Parish that's extending into southern portions of Jackson Parish. If you're in Chatham right now, you're not under a tornado warning, but again, the threat for tornadic weather is there. And again, as we're looking at that Wynn Parish warning, again, that one will stay active at least through 8:45 a.m. So we're talking about another 30 minutes or so of that warning. And at this point, everything is radar indicated. We have not had any confirmation of actual tornadoes on the ground, but we definitely have storms that are rotating, and those rotating storms have the potential to produce tornadic weather. Again, when we look at Ouachita Parish, we're still seeing signs of stronger wind, but we're not seeing signs of strong or tight rotation. The storm itself has broadened just a bit, so that's a good thing for us. But again, we're still seeing enough signs of activity where we have little spin-ups here or there that we're leading to some tornadic weather. So when we take a look at the velocity, we're seeing one area of interest now east of Monroe, just south of Interstate 80, but really right along Interstate 20. And then we're looking at another area where there's showing just weak signs of rotation, but just enough just south of Richwood. So if you're in Swartz, if you're in Richwood, if you're in Monroe, this is your time to stay indoors, stay safe until the threat has passed. It'll take another 30 minutes or so for this threat to be out, but we'll still have to keep an eye out for more storm concerns across our region. As we look farther to the south, I do want to point out the storm that's right now over Sykes. Again, that one is showing stronger signs, or still showing signs of rotation. So we want you to take that storm very seriously. If you are in Sykes, you're likely dealing with very strong wind right now, very heavy rain, even potentially some hail. That dangerous storm is moving through your area. Then as we look on a broader view, right now we're dealing with technically 3 tornado warnings, one for Wynne and Jackson Parish, another for Caldwell Parish, and then one for Caldwell into Ouachita Parish. And again, that severe weather is continuing to impact us. We are looking at potentially some quieter weather on the backside of this dangerous weather that's moving through. So that's a good sign. But all of this activity is pushing to the north and east. And so the threat will likely push up toward places like Bastrop, even Farmerville as we head throughout the next hour or so. And then eventually for places like Crossett and Jerome and areas across South Arkansas. But the threat for dangerous weather definitely there right now. So we want you to keep your guard up. Again, we're talking about a warning, multiple warnings across our region. This activity is starting much earlier than you would normally anticipate. Typically, as we head into the spring and even summer, we have more storms in the afternoon and evenings, but we have a lot of energy in the atmosphere. It's been very warm all night into tomorrow morning or this morning. And then on top of that, we've had a lot more moisture moving to the region. All of that setting us up for severe weather. So we have this dangerous weather moving across the area. Again, if you are in Monroe, areas to the east, Richwood, Swartz, you need to be on guard. You're dealing with a tornado warned storm pushing into your region, and we're tracking another storm, a dangerous storm moving across Sykes as we speak. I want to send it back over to meteorologist Abby Gazelle so she can give an update on what we're seeing when it comes to the winds within these storms. Abby?
Well, Marcus, we are seeing some pretty strong winds within these storms. A couple of them are actually showing signs of a rotation at this time. So we're tracking this storm that is moving out of portions of LaSalle Parish, now into Caldwell Parish, just south of the Clarks area. This is where we're showing some broad signs of rotation, where those reds and greens are coming in together near Louisiana Highway 843. This is beginning to track off towards the north and the east near Highway 165. So if you are near 165, you'll want to stop what you're doing as the strong storm continues to track near that area. And even here in Ouachita Parish, this storm is near Highway 165. We are tracking 2 broad signs of rotation in this storm in Ouachita Parish. One that is closer towards the Swartz area. This will likely impact you within the next few minutes. And then another sign of broad rotation near the Richwood area, close to Louisiana Highway 15. So I did want to put a track on this storm as this is moving into some fairly highly populated areas. Places like Swartz on the very edge of Richwood and on portions of the city of Monroe as well. 8:45 a.m. Caldwell and Ouachita. So if you are located in any of those areas, safe place and now, as we are expecting this strong storm to be near you very shortly. It's moving fairly quickly at the northeast at 60 miles per hour. So I'm going to go ahead and put a tracker on this storm northeast at 60 miles per hour. Places like Crew Lake impacted by 8:39 a.m., 8:46 for John H. Hooks Jr. Memorial, Rayville 8:47 a.m., Oak Ridge at 8:52, and then Bearskin at 9:04 a.m., Epps at 9:09. Be on guard if you are located in any of those areas, as this warning will probably get extended as we are still seeing some broad signs of a rotation. Now, this storm near Sykes is beginning to weaken ever so slightly. It is probably just cycling at this time, but we are still seeing some broad signs of rotation near the Sykes area near Louisiana Highway 126. Moving into portions of Jackson Parish, we still do have this warning with us for about another 20 minutes. Actually, these 3 warnings for another 20 minutes or so until 8:45, but likely some of these will continue to get extended into portions of the rest of the area as these strong storms are continuing to show signs of rotation. Now, Marcus, what are you seeing?
Well, I want to focus in on some of the signs of rotation we're seeing in Ouachita Parish. They are weaker signs of rotation, but they're out there nonetheless. We're looking at one between Richwood and Swartz. So this one is tracking, this one right here is tracking over or toward Interstate 20 and State Route 80 at the moment, and it is showing signs of rotation. We're also noticing another broader area of rotation just south of Richwood. We have some of the reds and greens coming together. When we look at the latest gate-to-gate shear, that's how we try to figure out if they're how fast the winds are potentially blowing with those areas of interest. We're looking at the one area that is now east of Monroe, pushing toward places like Swartz, gate-to-gate shear anywhere from 60 to 70 miles per hour. So that's a sign that we have a storm that's rotating fairly quickly. And then farther south, we're looking at broader signs of rotation, but it is there. We have some reds and greens right near this 165 icon. So the threat for dangerous weather definitely moving through Ouachita Parish. And the main thing I want to stress right now is that you make sure you stay indoors until this threat has moved out. Again, farther east of Monroe, we start to get into more rural areas, but if you are in places like Richwood and just east of Richwood, the threat for dangerous weather is right there on your doorsteps. So we want you to stay inside until the threat exits the region. On top of that, I want to talk about the rotation that's now moving away from Sykes. That's good news for them, but it is pushing into southern portions of Jackson Parish at this hour. So Louisiana, State Route 499, this storm will be tracking across that area within the next few minutes. And as we take a look at what's happening back to the south and east, we still have that new tornado warning from a storm that's pushing into southern portions of Caldwell Parish. So we have a number of alerts out there. Meteorologist Abby Gazelle mentioned that we also have a severe thunderstorm warning that covers a large portion of our region. And we're seeing these storms continue to move over the same areas over and over. And I do suspect we'll likely see some flooding, maybe even some flash flooding taking place. So we just want you to be on guard for the threat of some dangerous weather. But again, as we look at these areas of rotation, we're definitely looking at an area of rotation showing up that's moving now into southeastern portions of Jackson Parish, and then we're still tracking an area of interest, area of rotation, now moving just east of Richwood and also pushing just south and east of places like Swartz. So dangerous weather is out there for sure. We want you to keep your guard up this morning. We have the tornado warning that's still in place for Ouachita Parish for at least another 15-20 minutes. And then after that time, we'll have to see how things will play out. But as we go back to what's happening on radar and talk about some of the alerts that are out there, we're talking about this one that covers really eastern portions of Ouachita Parish. It's still out there. This is the same area where we've been seeing some of the signs of rotation. So if you're south and east of Monroe, if you're south of Swartz, we still are under a tornado warning for that area. It stays active at least through 8:45 a.m. And again, these dangerous storms are moving through. Now, Abby, I wanted to know if you can take a look and see if we've seen any hail over the last several minutes with some of these storms that are out there, because that's one thing that we had concerns about earlier today. And I think we're still seeing some signs of hail with some of these storms. Abby?
Yes, Marcus, that's right. We are still seeing some signs of hail with this storm system as it continues to track off towards the north and the east. This is our hail track showing that we have seen some signs of hail with this tornado warnings that we have had over the last couple of minutes. Just north of the city of Monroe, they've picked up about pea-sized hail. Places like Ruston were reporting ping pong ball-sized hail, if not golf ball-sized hail, on Facebook just a few minutes ago. So thank you for your reports over there. If you are able to do so, we love hearing about your storm reports. So we can pass those off towards the National Weather Service. It helps them research these storms a little bit better and provides a better track of these storms. Still pea-sized hail in portions of central Ouachita Parish. Now for portions of Wynn Parish, they're picking up on about grape-sized hail at this time. So still some very small, if not a little bit larger sized hail falling with this storm in portions of Wynn Parish. Now they did just extend that tornado warning as we speak into portions of Jackson and Caldwell, as well as Ouachita Parish just south of Monroe, as this storm is still showing signs of rotation. So let's go ahead and get a look at where that rotation is located. It's located just on the border of Jackson and Wynn Parish, just northeast of Sykes at this time, where those reds and greens are coming together. This is tracking off towards the north and the east. It will likely impact portions of Louisiana Highway 557 as in the next couple of minutes as it tracks off towards the north and the east. So this warning has just been issued. They did let the other one expire for portions of central Wynn Parish. And then let's see what else we've got going on. We've got this other warning that is now in portions of Caldwell Parish. They have trimmed that back. LaSalle Parish, it does not cover you anymore. I did notice that this storm right here, just south of Columbia, that is showing some broader signs of rotation. So it is beginning to weaken ever so slightly as it's entering portions of central Caldwell Parish, just south of Columbia, where those reds and greens are coming together near Highway 165. So if you know anyone that travels in this area, you want to tell them to be on guard this morning as this strong storm is beginning to move into that area. And even Highway 165 and portions of Ouachita Parish, that's where we are also seeing some other signs of rotation near Richwood and Schwartz at this time, near Louisiana Highway 15 and Highway 80. So be on alert for these strong storms passing those areas. Now, Marcus, what do you have?
Well, again, I want to talk about the warnings that are out there because we have multiple alerts and we want you to be informed about them. Right now, we're dealing with 3 tornado warnings at the moment. We have one that covers eastern portions of Ouachita Parish. We have a second one that covers southern portions of Ouachita Parish. And then we have a tornado warning that covers parts of Caldwell Parish. As we look at that warning, it will stay active at least through 9 a.m. And again, this is from a storm that is showing signs of rotation on radar. And because of that, the National Weather Service issued that warning. On top of that, we're dealing with the warning that is now moving across southeastern Jackson and Jackson Parish, and then again into southern Ouachita Parish. That tornado warning stays active at least through 9 a.m. So the threat for severe weather with us this morning, dangerous weather moving across the area. When we take a look at some of the things like storm tracks or gate-to-gate shear, we're still seeing some signs of rotation, of broad rotation, just east of Monroe, now moving across Interstate 20 south of Swartz. So if you have any family or friends in these areas, if you're anywhere from Richwood to Swartz, you still need to be on guard until this threat weakens or moves out of the area. As we look farther south, we're still noticing an area of rotation broader, but still there, south and east of Chatham. Chatham, you're okay at the moment, but if you had any travel plans within the next hour or so, or really within the next few minutes to the south and east, I would say hold off on that because we have this dangerous tornado warning moving through. And again, that tornado warning does cover the Chatham area, so we just want you to stay indoors and protected as well. When we look at what's happening, again, not only are we dealing with these tornado warnings that are out there, but we also have severe thunderstorm warnings that are covering areas farther to the north as well as farther to the south. All the areas within the severe thunderstorm warnings means that we're dealing with heavy rain, potentially hail, and even damaging wind. So the threat for severe weather continuing to impact us here in the Ark limits. As we look farther to the east, things are starting to moisten up to the east. So places like Delhi, you've seen a few spotty showers. Lake Providence, you've seen some rain within the last hour or so, or rain nearby. And things have been fairly quiet for Catahoula Parish, but we are still watching for more storm development across those areas as we head throughout the rest of the morning. On a wider view, we're noticing just broad stratiform rain back to the west, which may mean that some of the worst weather that we're dealing with now is impacting us, and we may start to get a lull in the activity. We still have to keep our guard up, but things look a lot calmer to the south and west where most of these storms have originated, and then once they moved into our region, continue to strengthen. But again, things are looking fairly stormy for us now. I do want to take us to the tower cam just to show you that things look fairly quiet here in Monroe. But again, we want you to keep your guard up. We have these tornado warnings out there. and that means dangerous weather is threatening us. And so we have to keep our guard up. While in part of Monroe is still under a tornado warning, especially for areas to the east, the farther north and west you go, things have been a lot quieter. Places like El Dorado, fortunately, have been fairly quiet this morning, with storms passing to your west and then passing to your east. But let's take a look at the radar one more time just to point out what's happening. Again, we're looking at this stormy weather impacting us. We have multiple tornado warnings out there, and we have 2 that cover Ouachita Parish and 1 that covers places like Caldwell Parish. We have one of those warnings also covering south and eastern portions of Jackson Parish. The dangerous weather out there, please stay up to date with us. You can follow us online. You can stream us on our website. But again, the threat for damaging, dangerous weather impacting us. So far, we have not had any reports of damage or any devastation in our region, but we definitely have ingredients in place to unfortunately bring us dangerous weather. And so that's what we're dealing with now. But as we look at what's on the way, we have this tornado watch that's still with us at least through 1 p.m. They have trimmed the backside of this watch, so that is a sign, a good sign, that we are starting to make our way through this severe weather event. Still storm chances all across the Archimedes, lots of colors. All that means is we're dealing with potentially isolated, scattered, and numerous severe storms, and we've been dealing with a lot of storms already this morning. Futurecast shows that we have wet weather out there. I don't necessarily know if it's doing as good of a job with the coverage that we're dealing with, but the general theme is that this activity will continue to push to the east, and then eventually by late 1 o'clock into 2 o'clock, we start to improve and we see quieter weather take over as we head throughout the afternoon. So I want to send it back to meteorologist Abby Ezell with another update on what's happening. Abby, what can you tell us?
Well, Marcus, I am beginning to notice that this area of rotation in portions of eastern Ouachita Parish is beginning to strengthen ever so slightly. This is located just south of Schwartz near Highway 80. This is where we're seeing those yellows and reds and greens come together right here. That's where we're tracking that sign of rotation. And once again, I am beginning to notice it is a little bit stronger as the storm continues to cycle as it pushes off towards the north and the east. So I did want to go ahead and put a tracker on this storm. This storm once again pushing off towards the north and the east, and let's see about how fast the storm is moving. This storm is moving off towards the north. That is the right storm, north and east at 80 miles per hour. So a very, very fast moving storm. So if you are located in this area, you want to be on guard as this storm is a very, very fast and moving system as it continues to track off towards the north and the east. So I am going to zoom it out a little bit because this storm is moving so fast. We've got it off towards the north and the east at about 80 miles per hour here. Oak Ridge at 8:47 a.m. Bearskin 8:56 a.m. 9:04 for Pioneer. Oak Grove at 9:09, and then Lake Providence at 9:16. Eudora 9:21, and Hopedale at 9:25, and then into portions of Mississippi by 9:30 at Rolling Fork. This is a very strong and dangerous storm, not confirmed yet, but it is a radar indicated storm as we are continuing to see signs of a strengthening rotation just south of the Schwartz area. So you'll want to be in your safe place now as this storm tracks off towards the north and the east. Now, good news with this storm in Caldwell Parish. I have been watching it just south of the Columbia area, and that storm is showing some weaker signs of rotation, and it is likely beginning to weaken there for you in portions of central Caldwell Parish, just east of Clarks and south of Columbia. We aren't really seeing much in the way of rotation now, maybe a little bit just near Louisiana Highway 557, and it looks like we just got a new warning in here, a severe thunderstorm warning. Yeah, we just did get a severe thunderstorm warning. This covers much of our eastern parishes, northeastern parishes, places like Rayville, and then Bastrop. You're just just north of that warning. So this storm system is continuing to track off towards the north and the east. You'll want to be on guard. Oak Ridge, Epps, Delhi, Mangum, all underneath this new severe thunderstorm warning. So let's go ahead and see when that ends. If we can here real quick. Let me put it back on a Doppler 8 radar, and we'll get a query in for you right now. Severe thunderstorm warning until Saturday at 9:45 a.m. This could include a tornado possible, a very fast moving storm system with hail up to 1 inch possible in this severe thunderstorm warning. Places like East Carroll, Madison, Richland, and West Carroll parishes all included underneath this new severe thunderstorm warning. So be on guard as these strong storms continue to push towards the north and the east. Now, Marcus, what have you been noticing?
Well, again, we are tracking these storms, and they're slowly, ever so slightly, pushing to the east, but generally the direction is southwest to northeast when it comes to the severe weather. And when we talk about what we're dealing with, this is a look at velocity. Not very impressive at the moment, which is a good thing for us, but we are still noticing signs of stronger wind out there. We've had some velocity showing up just south and even southeast of Swartz at about 51 miles per hour. So these thunderstorms are still producing very strong wind, and you'll notice them as the storm moves across your area. Oak Ridge, definitely be on guard for stronger wind and stronger storms over the next 10 minutes or so. We're still noticing a smaller area of rotation showing up in eastern portions of Jackson Parish, but at this point the rotation is fairly small, so that's a sign that the storm itself has weakened. We're not seeing as broad of a sign of rotation, but as we look east for Columbia Parish, that tornado warning that still is in place for part of Columbia Parish, we're noticing wind upwards of 40 if not 50 miles per hour. So we're still dealing with strong wind even as we're starting to see weaker signs of rotation out there. Now, Abby mentioned that we have this new severe thunderstorm watch that covers places like Delhi and Rayville and even places like Oak Ridge. But fortunately, severe thunderstorm warning, while it means danger, is not a tornado warning. So that is a good sign. And considering that it's downstream, that may be a sign that we start to see less tornadic activity as these storms continue to progress east. But we still have a lot of energy ahead of these storms, and we'll have to track and see what happens a little farther to the south. If we get some additional storms developing south and those storms move into the area, that could mean more active weather. One of the things we're noticing, storms are starting to intensify moving out of Texas, tracking to the north and east. So while we may get a lull in the activity, we may see more severe weather develop across our region. And again, the threat for severe weather will be with us for the next several hours. The time now, right around 8:42. We're not talking about being in the all clear until about 2 o'clock today. So we still have about 5 hours or so, 6 hours or so, threatening weather that'll be impacting us. But let's talk about the warnings that are out there just so we can give you an update. We showed you the velocity showing you signs that these storms are potentially weakening when it comes to rotation, but the threat for them still out there. We have one tornado warning that extends from eastern Jackson Parish into southern Ouachita Parish. That warning stays active through 9 a.m. So we have another 20 minutes or so with that warning. Then as we look farther to the east, actually, we have that tornado warning in Caldwell Parish. That storm itself continuing to track into places like Richland Parish, but fortunately it's showing weaker signs of rotation, still gusty wind, but weaker signs of rotation. Then as we look toward Ouachita Parish, we have that warning that covers eastern portions of our viewing area. It covers the city of Monroe. It stays active for another few minutes, and then we'll have to see how things play out. Again, we're noticing weaker rotation with these storms, so that's another good sign that the severe weather threat, while it's still out there, it may be lessening for us briefly. But the threat for severe weather definitely in place across our region. And when we take a wider view of what's happening, we have the radar still. We have a new severe thunderstorm warning outside the viewing area, but we'll have to track that to see how that progresses as it moves in our direction. You'll notice places like Columbia, or excuse me, places like Tensas and Concordia Parish, that is, have been very quiet this morning, but all of this activity will continue to push to the east. And then later today, if you have any family or friends in Jackson, Mississippi or Birmingham, Alabama, this system continues to track east, and it'll lead to even more severe weather across those regions. So dangerous weather will be with us for sure. We want you to keep your guard up, but fortunately things look like they will start to clear out by the time we get to 1 o'clock, if not 2 o'clock, across our region. I want to send it back to meteorologist Abby Ezell with another update on what's happening when it comes to the wind within these storms and whether or not we're still seeing more signs of rotation. Abby?
Okay, well, I did want to give an update. I did just get a text message from our anchor, Jessica Torricelli. She just sent me a message saying that 950 people are out of power in Ouachita Parish on Entergy's website. This is mostly for people in north of Monroe. So if you are out of power and you're trying to find a way to watch us, we're online and even live on Facebook on our news page. Really, the one warning that I'm kind of still concerned about, the rest of these warnings are still showing some very broad signs of rotation and weakening. The one warning I am a little bit more concerned about is this warning for portions of Jackson, Ouachita, and even portions of Caldwell Parish. Still showing some broad signs of rotation, but continuing to weaken as it pushes off towards the north and the east. We did just get a new radar scan in. They just did trim that warning back as we are watching. This storm is moving close to Louisiana Highway 557, and this is just south of the Richwood area near Louisiana Highway 34. And close to the Highway 165 corridor. They did just trim that back, and it looks like they did let go. Yeah, they did let go of that original warning that was in portions of Ouachita Parish, and they are continuing, it looks like, this warning for portions of Caldwell Parish. Let's see how long we've got left with this warning. Tornado warning for about another 15 minutes in Caldwell Parish. So let's go ahead and look at the rotation in this storm. We are still seeing some very broad signs of rotation within this storm. Not much in the way of a strong rotation as it continues to track off the north and the east. We are on the very edge of the Shreveport radar right here. Likely rotation just northeast of Columbia near Louisiana Highway 561 and Louisiana Highway 133. Once again, some very broad signs of rotation, but still a very, very strong storm nonetheless that is continuing to track off towards the north and the east. I did want to put a track, though, on this one storm in portions of southern Ouachita Parish. This is now out of Jackson and Wynn Parish. They have clipped this warning and modified that. So let's see how fast this warning is moving off towards the north and the east, if we can get a query on that real quick. So we've got this warning active until 9 a.m., so about another 15 minutes. We could see some very small hail with this storm moving off towards the north and the east at 50 miles per hour, so a fairly fast moving storm. So let's go ahead and track that out. We're talking about places like Summit at 8:54 a.m. and then 9:04 for Richwood, 9:10 for Beard, 9:14 for Millhaven, Schwartz at 9:19, and then Wham at 9:27. So if you are located in any of those areas, you want to be on guard in your safe place. Be prepared that this strong storm is going to impact your area very shortly. Now, Marcus, what are you seeing?
Well, I want to again talk about the warnings that are out there. We have just two tornado warnings, that is. We are still dealing with some severe thunderstorm warnings across the region. But the one for Caldwell Parish, the storm itself is now pushing into Richland Parish. So that warning, while it's still there, the threat for severe weather for you is lowering fairly quickly. So if you are east or northeast of Clarks, if you're east of Columbia, I know the good thing is that the dangerous weather is slowly pushing out of your region. If you are in southern Ouachita Parish, we're still dealing with a storm that is showing broad signs of rotation, but it's a lot weaker than what we saw earlier. So that's another good thing. Still, because we have these warnings out there, we want you to keep your guard up until the storm itself moves out of the warning or the warning is allowed to expire. Now, as we take a look at the latest warning, again, we have the one that covers centrally southern Ouachita Parish areas just west of Monroe and West Monroe. This warning will stay active at least through 9 a.m. So we have another 12 minutes or so of this warning with this storm. While things have quieted down here in Monroe, I do want to take us to the tower cam just to show you that things are quiet right now, We are cloudy, we're misty, we have some fog out there. Within the next few minutes, we're expecting more rain to move back into the region, more stormy weather from this tornado warned storm. But I do suspect, based on the trend, we will no longer have a warning. We may just have a severe thunderstorm warning. We may no longer have a tornado warning. We may have a severe thunderstorm warning for the Monroe area. But because we have this dangerous storm approaching, we want you to keep your guard up. This storm has showing signs of producing hail, gusty wind, and also signs of rotation, so the threat is still there. As we look farther to the south, and now we have an update, they have canceled that warning for Caldwell Parish, so that's definitely a good thing. So now we're down to one. We have one tornado warning in our viewing area. And then back to the west, we're noticing some very heavy rain moving through Jackson Parish, also moving through Wynn Parish, places like Winfield, who already had a round of severe weather, now dealing with more storms pushing across the region. Now, I do want to shake you again, show you velocity. We're showing signs of stronger wind, but not so much signs of rotation. So if you are in Bastrop or Oak Ridge, expect very gusty winds as those thunderstorms begin to push into your region. As we look at that tornado warned storm that's now in southern portions of Ouachita Parish, we're still showing signs of some weaker rotation, but it's not as pronounced, and that's a good thing. So that means overall the storm has weakened a lot, but we still have that warning out there. And as we put the map into motion, these storms have continued to move across the region. But I do want to point out some of the storms that have drifted more to the north have weakened, meaning that they've lost their energy source. And I suspect if you are in places to the north and west, things will be a lot quieter for us. We already have seen that tornado watch across parts of those areas end, but at the moment we're still dealing with at least one tornado warning and a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings. On a wider view, things are still quiet for us in Vicksburg and areas farther to the south and east, but we will continue to track what's happening to the south and west. We see some feisty storms developing once again just west and north of Fort Johnson, and this activity, well, it is forecast to continue to track in our direction. At this point, our neighbors to the west in Shreveport, fairly quiet, but for us, we're dealing with one tornado warning right now, and so we'll have to see how things play out. That warning goes through about 9 a.m., and then after that time, I suspect that warning will be allowed to expire. Here's a look at the tornado watch that still is in place. All of the Arklem is still under a tornado watch through at least 1 p.m. That extends farther to the north and east across much of South Arkansas into northeastern portions of Mississippi, northern portions of Mississippi. Farther to the south and west, we're dealing with a tornado watch and also a severe thunderstorm watch across southeastern portions of Texas. The SPC outlook shows that we have storm chances out there today, but as we look at the futurecast, things do start to improve for us. By the time we get to 1 o'clock, if not 2 o'clock, drier weather should be taking over, and that'll set the stage for plenty of sunshine and breezy conditions as we head throughout the afternoon. So the threat for severe weather is still with us. We have this tornado warning across southern portions of Ouachita Parish. Right now, the city of Monroe is not under that warning for the most part, but because it is nearby, we still want you in your safe area, and so the threat has moved out. I want to send it back to meteorologist Abby Ezell with a little bit more on what we're dealing with. Abby?
Okay, well, Marcus, we have gotten a lot of reports of hail this morning as these storms continue to push eastward. So if you are located in any of our eastern parishes, you'll want to be on guard as this line of storms could possibly cause some small hail, if not a little bit larger size of hail, as we have seen some reports of possible ping pong ball to golf ball sized hail this morning as these storms continue to push through. Once again, like Marcus mentioned, we only have one active warning right now. This is for portions of southern Ouachita Parish, just south of Monroe and just on the edge of Richwood. So I am going to show you where that rotation is likely moving. That rotation is likely moving near portions of Highway 34 and Louisiana Highway 557. At this time, where we're seeing those reds and greens coming together, this is some very, very weak rotation at this point. We are still with this warning for about another 7 minutes. This warning goes until about 9 a.m. this morning. I believe it's moving off towards the north and the east at 50 miles per hour. So I am going to go ahead and put a track on this storm system as it continues to track off towards the north and the east. Let's go ahead and get a query on that. Moving off towards the northeast at 50 miles per hour. Radar indicated we haven't had any tornadoes confirmed just yet. So that is some good news right there. Northeast at 50 miles per hour. Tracking it out, we're going to be talking about places like La Penn at 8:56 a.m., Summit at 9:02, Richwood at 9:12 a.m. and then 9:21 for Millhaven and 9:25 for Schwartz, and then John H. Hooks Jr. Memorial at 9:38 a.m. Now, if this warning stops at 9 a.m., if they are seeing some weakening signs of rotation, they will likely put a severe thunderstorm warning on this storm system, as this still is a very, very strong storm. So still be on guard. Even if this warning does expire in about 6 minutes, I still want you to be on guard and in your safe place as this strong storm continues to impact portions of southern Ouachita Parish. Now, for the rest of the area, we are beginning to see some activity just off towards our west. That is continuing to track eastward, and we could see a little bit of a lull in the activity like Marcus has been mentioning, but that storm system just off towards our north and west that will likely impact us in the coming hours. So that is something we are going to be continuing watching, as some of these storms just off towards our southwest are showing signs of being a little bit on the stronger side. Now, Marcus, what are you seeing?
Well, again, we're seeing similar things. Again, we're tracking moisture that's trying to push in from the west. That moisture a lot calmer compared to what we're dealing with right now. So the threat for dangerous weather is continuing with us. We have this tornado warning that'll be with us for another 5 minutes or so. It's across southern Ouachita Parish. Unfortunately, the storm is not showing strong signs of rotation, but has had a history producing rotation. When we put a storm track on the system, moving about 40 to 50 miles per hour, again, Monroe, if it holds together, about 10 to 15 minutes from now, that storm will be moving across our region. We're already hearing thunder here in the studio from that approaching thunderstorm, and so we'll have to track and see how things play out. Farther to the south and east, we're noticing thunderstorm activity continuing to move through Richland Parish. Places like Mangum, just north of Mangum, places like Rayville, you're dealing with the stormy weather now. Now, as we look again at what's going on with this warning, it stays active through 9 a.m. Fortunately, again, we're not seeing strong signs of rotation. The rotation is a lot broader, but this is the area that we're watching. It's getting closer and closer to places like Monroe and West Monroe, but fortunately, it's a lot weaker. So the threat for tornadic weather, while it's still there, we're not seeing any strong indications that we're dealing with a tornado on the ground or anything like that. When we put the Doppler 8 radar into motion, we're seeing stormy weather continuing to move north and east, but some of it is now progressing farther to the east. And fortunately, some of these storms that have developed ahead of the main line of severe weather, they have not turned severe, but they're still out there. So if you are in northern or western portions of Catahoula Parish, if you are in places like Franklin Parish, you're starting to deal with wet weather pushing into the region. Meteorologist Abby Azil, you have a little bit more?
Yes, they did just mention that in Ouachita Parish, they will be expiring that warning at 9 a.m., so within the next 3 minutes. And then for Wynne Parish, they are watching a severe thunderstorm warning, mainly for hail. That's about to be issued. All
right, so we are talking about the one tornado warning that's in place for southern Ouachita Parish. The good news is the National Weather Service office out of Shreveport, which is responsible for the alerts that you see on the map, they are going to allow that tornado warning that's in place across southern Ouachita Parish to expire. That is definitely a good thing. And then farther to the south across Wynne Parish, we still have some intense rain and thunderstorms moving through. They're going to issue a severe thunderstorm warning for that area, mainly for hail, but also heavy rain and gusty wind that are currently impacting that part of the region. So we have some good news. So in another 2 minutes or so, once this alert expires, we'll send you back to your regular programming, but we'll be back on air if there's additional tornado warnings issued across our region. But it has been a fairly busy morning. If you're just waking up and you're wondering what's happening, why is my phone buzzing, what's all this going on? Again, we're talking about dangerous weather that's moving through the region and dangerous weather that will continue for us. And now we have received confirmation that they're going to allow that tornado warning across Ouachita Parish, southern Ouachita Parish, to expire. So with that, we'll send you back to your regular programming. Some of you may still notice the warning up until about 9 a.m., but the coast seems to be clearing. But we'll let you go back to your original programming for this morning, but we'll jump back on air if we have any additional tornado warnings issued across our region. We still have the threat for more tornadoes over the next couple of hours, so definitely stay aware of the weather. But for now, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for bearing with us. We appreciate it. Hopefully you stay safe this morning, and we'll be back if there's another threat for tornadic weather.
This has been a KNOE 8 News Severe Weather Alert.